February 4th, 1999, at Oklahoma State Penitentiary, teen killer Sean Sellers stood before a live broadcast, calmly claiming demonic possession and Dungeons and Dragons led him to murder. Later, his haunting 1995 interview would blur the lines between faith, evil, and what truly lived inside. Here are the disturbing last interviews with serial killers before execution.
I come home, fix myself something to eat, watch TV or whatever, and I like being alone. I liked that solitude, and I liked that responsibility that I had for myself, being independent. I never really had a lot of friends because I moved around so much, and by the time I'd really make a good friend.
February 4th, 1999, Oklahoma State Penitentiary. The cold buzz of fluorescent lights hums overhead as guards prepare for a historic execution. Sean Sellers, once a troubled teenager obsessed with occult rituals, is now minutes away from becoming the first person in 40 years to be executed in the United States for a crime committed at age 16. But Sellers' story didn't begin here. It started, like so many others, with a broken home and a desperate search for belonging. Born in 1969 in California to a teenage mother and an alcoholic father, Sellers' early life was marked by instability. His parents divorced when he was just 18 months old, and his mother quickly remarried a truck driver named Paul Belafato. The couple's cross-country jobs meant young Sean was often left with relatives, moving more than 30 times before his 16th birthday. This constant uprooting bred a deep sense of isolation and resentment. As a child, Sellers showed no signs of the darkness to come. He was intelligent, performed well in school, and even joined the Civil Air Patrol in Colorado, earning outstanding honors. But beneath the surface, emotional turmoil simmered. Family violence was commonplace, beatings from his mother, humiliation from an uncle who forced him to wear soiled diapers on his head for bedwetting, and exposure to hunting cruelty that left lasting scars. By age 12, Sellers had begun exploring the occult. What started as a fascination with Dungeons and Dragons soon escalated into daily satanic rituals. He would drink his own blood, store vials of it in the refrigerator, and perform acts of self-mutilation. His mother and stepfather, always armed, were both aware of his dark interests but seemed powerless to intervene. Tension at home grew, fueled by Sellers' obsession with a girlfriend his mother disapproved of.
And we did a ritual one night, and we started talking about it, and we decided, okay, let's do it, Let's prove our allegiance to Satan. Let's break this last commandment. Let's get rid of this guy,
September 8th, 1985. The Circle K convenience store in Oklahoma City became the stage for Sellers' first murder. His best friend, Richard Howard, testified that Sellers wanted to see what it feels like to kill somebody. That night, they targeted Robert Bauer, a clerk who had once refused to sell them beer. Sellers shot Bauer twice, the second bullet proving fatal. They took nothing from the store. This was about power, not money. 6 months later, the violence escalated. March 5th, 1986, Sellers crept into his parents' bedroom while they slept. Wearing only black underwear to avoid blood spatter, he shot his stepfather first. The noise woke his mother, whom he then shot in the face. He tried to stage the scene as a break-in, but soon confessed to Howard, who helped him hide the murder weapon. Howard later testified against Sellers in exchange for a reduced sentence. At trial, Sellers claimed demonic possession drove him to kill. He described being under the control of a demon named Ezurate and blamed his addiction to Dungeons and Dragons, though he later recanted that defense. The jury, faced with only two options, life with the possibility of parole or death, sentenced Sellers to die. Oklahoma law didn't allow life without parole until a year later.
I walked in the room, and I took the .44 and pointed it at my father's head, and I squeezed the trigger.
While on death row, Sellers underwent a dramatic transformation. He claimed to have found Christianity, renouncing his past and warning others about the dangers of Satanism. His case attracted international attention, with activists like Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Bianca Jagger campaigning for clemency. Mental health evaluations diagnosed him with multiple personality disorder, linking his crimes to childhood abuse and trauma. But the courts ruled this evidence came too late. In his final statement, Sellers addressed his step-siblings.
All the people that are hating me right now and are here waiting to see me die. When you wake up in the morning, you're not going to feel any different. You're going to hate me just as much tomorrow as tonight.
He then sang a modern Christian worship song as the lethal injection took effect. Sellers' execution marked a turning point in American justice. It was the last time anyone in the U.S. would be executed for a crime committed at age 16. 6 years later, the Supreme Court would rule such executions unconstitutional. But for 3 families, including his own, that decision came too late.
Satan is not for you, and God is not against you. I don't think a person can ever reach their full potential outside of Jesus Christ. We are created with an empty spot within us, and God created us with this empty spot and an insatiable desire to fill it. And He did so that we would seek and search Him out.
But as heinous as Sean Sellers' case sounds, the next case explores a shocking twist where the next killer documents his horrifying atrocities and openly calls for his own execution explicitly.
I have to be. Because I will kill again. No, I would do it again. I've been molesting kids nonstop since I was 13 years old, over half my life.
January 5th, 1993. Inside Washington State Penitentiary, the air was heavy with silence. Wesley Dodd, one of America's most chilling child killers, stood calmly on the gallows. No pleas, no resistance. Fully aware that this was the ending he'd chosen. An ending that was to change the course of his life for the worst. Wesley Allen Dodd sits on camera, eyes steady, voice clear, as he admits what most people never want to hear. He's not here to protest his innocence, or even to bargain for his life. Instead, Dodd begins with chilling certainty, stating,
I have to be. Because I will kill again. I know I would do it again. I've been molesting kids nonstop since I was 13 years old, over half my life.
This opening moment sets the tone for a segment that exposes the mind of a self-proclaimed irredeemable predator. Born July 3, 1961, in Toppenish, Washington, Dodd's early life showed troubling signs. By age 9, he realized his sexual attraction toward young boys. His crimes began at 13, exposing himself to neighborhood children. His father, aware but dismissive, considered him a well-behaved child who never had problems with drugs, drinking, or smoking. But Dodd's escalation was swift, from exposing himself to molesting younger cousins, then neighborhood children, and eventually the children of women his father dated.
Anything happened, I can guarantee I'd do it again, and sooner or later I would kill another child.
Dodd's confession continues. Anything happened, I can guarantee I'd do it again, and sooner or later I would kill another child. I've done it before, and at the time I liked it. These words, delivered with disturbing calm, reveal his complete lack of remorse and highlight the depth of his psychopathy. Dodd's criminal history is a litany of missed opportunities by the justice system. Arrested at 15 for indecent exposure, he received only counseling. By 20, after attempting to abduct 2 girls, police took no action. His Navy service ended in a dishonorable discharge for exposing himself to a boy, yet he served only 19 days in jail and underwent court-ordered counseling. Throughout the 1980s, Dodd's predation continued unchecked. Arrests resulted in short jail terms or suspended sentences. He carefully constructed his life around access to targets, moving into family apartments and working jobs that brought him near children. His estimated victim count reaches 175 children, some as young as 2 years old. Dodd's transition from molester to murderer began September 4, 1989. He went to David Douglas Park in Vancouver, Washington, prepared with a fillet knife and shoelaces. There, he lured brothers Cole and William Neer to a secluded spot. After molesting them, he stabbed both boys, the first in a series of planned murders detailed meticulously in his diary. Just weeks later, Dodd abducted Lee Iselli from a Portland playground. He took the boy to his apartment, molested him repeatedly, and documented every detail in shocking photographs. The next morning, he strangled Lee, hung his body in the closet, photographing the scene, and later disposed of the child near Vancouver Lake. His trophy, the boy's Ghostbusters underwear, kept as a souvenir. Dodd's final attempted abduction of James Kirk II from a movie theater restroom ended in failure thanks to quick-thinking theater staff and Kirk's mother's boyfriend, William Graves. This botched attempt led to Dodd's arrest on November 13, 1989. The investigation revealed a homemade torture rack in his apartment, newspaper clippings about his crimes, a briefcase containing Iseli's underwear, and his diary, an explicit record of his plans and actions. The evidence left no doubt about his guilt. During his trial, Dodd demanded the death penalty. When the judge questioned his intentions if kept alive, Dodd replied with chilling certainty,
Do everything I can to escape, and if necessary, kill prison guards on the way out. And I'll go right back doing what I did before as soon as I hit the streets.
When pressed further, he confirmed,
And
In a way, yeah, I could be a relief. I don't have to think about all these things anymore.
Dodd's final justification for his execution comes softly but firmly.
in a way, yeah, I think it'd be a relief. I don't have to think about all these things anymore. And I know that's the only way I can guarantee I'm not gonna hurt anybody else.
These words underscore the grim reality. Execution was the only guarantee against further violence from this self-aware predator. Dodd's case became a touchstone for reform. His crimes and the failure of the justice system to contain him led to significant changes in how sexual predators are managed. In 1993, Dodd was executed by hanging, the first legal hanging in the United States since 1965, and at his own request, mirroring the way he killed his last victim. His death marked not just the end of a predator, but also a turning point in how society confronts the darkest realities of human behavior. But if you thought this story was disturbing, the next chapter takes us deeper into the mind of one whose double life shocked the entire commune, Heidi at large.
November marks the 31st anniversary of the death of Kim Peterson. Peterson was one of the many victims of Salt Lake City's notorious serial killer, Arthur Gary Bishop.
Bishop killed 5 Salt Lake boys 30 years ago. In addition to the somber anniversary, a documentary.
1983, in Salt Lake City. The city is paralyzed by fear as children vanish without a trace. The name Arthur Gary Bishop will soon become synonymous with horror for every parent as time goes by. But first, Arthur Gary Bishop presented himself as the model citizen, an Eagle Scout, honor student, and missionary from Hinckley, Utah. Beneath that respectable surface, however, lurked a predator whose evil would shatter the lives of 5 boys and their families. Born September 29, 1952, Bishop was the oldest of 6 sons. He grew up in a devout Latter-day Saint household, excelled academically, and even served as a missionary in the Philippines. His employment history looked promising, until his 1978 embezzlement conviction changed everything. Bishop received a 5-year suspended sentence but vanished before making restitution. When he disappeared, he abandoned his old life and took on new identities, Roger Downs and Lynn Jones, while moving to Salt Lake City. By 1979, Bishop had wormed his way into the Big Brothers program, spending nearly a year as a big brother to a vulnerable 10-year-old. But his pattern of abuse quickly surfaced, and the program ejected him. That wouldn't stop him. His first known victim was Alonzo Daniels, whom he lured from his apartment complex with the promise of candy. Bishop's depravity escalated quickly. He not only killed Daniels, but also mutilated his body in a way that would become his gruesome signature. For several years, Bishop maintained his double life. To neighbors and co-workers, he seemed quiet but trustworthy. Secretly, he amassed a disturbing collection of photographs, over 300 images of boys, plus 125 naked pictures cut from magazines. These were carefully hidden in photo albums and a white wedding book, creating a twisted trophy collection. Bishop's next victim, Kim Peterson, was introduced through another boy he was already abusing. Bishop orchestrated an elaborate deception using the pretense of buying roller skates to gain access to Peterson. He then murdered the boy and buried his body near Daniels. Witnesses remembered seeing Peterson with a man matching Bishop's description, but the connection wouldn't surface for years.
How he killed the little boy.
I had a hammer close by. I just picked it up and hit him on the head with it while he was trying to get dressed.
His third victim, Danny Davis, disappeared from a supermarket. Witnesses recalled seeing Davis with a smiling man, but only vague descriptions emerged. The search for Davis became one of the most extensive in Salt Lake County history, involving search teams, divers, and even hypnosis for witnesses, but yielded nothing. After Davis, Bishop vowed to stop, but nearly 2 years later he abducted Troy Ward on Ward's birthday. He bound and killed the boy in his basement, then disposed of the body in Big Cottonwood Canyon, trying to simplify his disposal process. Bishop's final victim was Graham Cunningham, who thought he was going on a California trip with Bishop and another boy. Instead, Bishop lured him back to his home under the pretense of getting marijuana to sell. He killed Cunningham using the same hammer and drowning method as previous victims, then disposed of the body in a trash bag. The investigation began closing in when police realized Roger Downs lived near 4 of the abduction sites and knew the 5th child's parents. They brought Bishop in under the pretense of helping with Cunningham's disappearance. Under pressure, Bishop confessed to all 5 murders in less than an hour and led authorities to the burial sites the next day.
And the reason I'm saying it is because if we're talking about
Troy Ward, I kidnapped.
The evidence was overwhelming. Police found his gruesome photo collection, plus disturbing tools, a revolver, bloody hammer, and photos of victims taken after their abductions. Investigators identified 21 boys he had molested, though Bishop estimated the true number was double or triple that. In court, Bishop claimed his crimes were the result of an addiction to child pornography. He described himself as a homosexual pedophile whose conscience had been desensitized by exposure to increasingly graphic material, but the jury saw through his attempts at self-justification. On March 19, 1984, Bishop was found guilty of 5 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of aggravated kidnapping, and 1 count of sexually abusing a minor. He chose execution by lethal injection. Bishop's final statements revealed a man fully aware of his monstrous acts. He told Detective Don Bell,
I'm glad you caught me, because I couldn't stop, and I would go do it again if I had the chance.
Even as he faced death, Bishop maintained a twisted sense of logic, claiming his execution was necessary to prevent further killings.
It's cold, disturbing honesty.
But I'm glad you caught me, because I couldn't stop, and I would go do it again if I had the chance.
Bishop spent his final hours in religious contemplation. He fasted for more than 24 hours, read from the Book of Mormon, and prayed with religious leaders. His final words, "Jesus, thou Son of God, have mercy on my soul," echoed a lifetime of hypocrisy and deception. The execution was carried out on June 10, 1988. Bishop declined a last meal and cooperated fully with prison staff. He was pronounced dead 9 minutes after the lethal injection began. In his written statement, he expressed remorse and tried to clarify rumors about his past, insisting he had never been abused and denying involvement in other murders. Arthur Gary Bishop remains one of Utah's most notorious serial killers. His case forced changes in how child protection programs screened volunteers and exposed the dangers of trusting appearances. Although Arthur Gary Bishop lived a double life, the next killer carried out his killings while serving in the Air Force, a place he was meant to serve and protect.
The obsessions, the fantasies, they were rehearsals. Eventually, I was driven to the point where I could not help but carry them out.
July 17, 1996. The electric chair at Nebraska State Penitentiary awaits its next occupant. Inside, John Joubert, a former Boy Scout, honor student, and Air Force airman, faces his final hours. But before the switch is thrown, Joubert sits for one last interview. His calm voice belies the horrors that brought him here. Born in 1963 in Lawrence, Massachusetts, Joubert's childhood seemed ordinary. But beneath the surface, darkness brewed. By age 13, he'd already stabbed and slashed 2 girls, yet no charges were stuck. As a teenager, he joined the Cub Scouts. played clarinet, ran track, and excelled academically, all while his sadistic fantasies grew stronger. Joubert's former Spanish teacher recalled,
He was a little boy all through his high school years. He never defended himself even when bullied.
These early signs escaped notice. After high school, Joubert attended Norwich University, but dropped out. At 19, he committed his first murder. Richard Stetson went jogging along Portland, Maine's Back Cove Trail and never returned. Bite marks on Stetson's body would later link to Joubert. But in 1982, the case went cold. The following year, Joubert joined the Air Force and moved to Nebraska. There, his cravings for control and violence resurfaced. September 18, 1983, Bellevue, Nebraska. Danny Joe Eberly disappeared while delivering newspapers. His bicycle, left neatly at his fourth stop, gave no clue to the horror that awaited. 3 days later, police found Eberly's tortured body, bound with an unusual multicolored rope, stabbed 9 times, and his mouth sealed with surgical tape. The FBI joined the hunt, but leads quickly dried up. Just 11 weeks later, December 2, 1983, Papillion, Nebraska. Christopher Walden vanished while walking to school. His body, found 2 days later, showed signs of brutal violence, nearly decapitated, his books and knapsack abandoned nearby. Witnesses recalled a white man in a tan car, but the trail seemed lost. Joubert's downfall came from a sharp-eyed preschool teacher. She noticed a suspicious car circling her school and memorized the license plate. When confronted, Joubert threatened her, but she escaped. Police traced the plate to an Air Force rental car. Joubert's own tan Chevrolet Nova was in the shop, the perfect match for witness descriptions. A search of his barracks revealed the same multicolored rope used to bind Eberly. The FBI traced it to a specialty rope made for the U.S. military in South Korea, a rare find. Under questioning, Joubert confessed to the Nebraska murders. Further investigation linked him to the main killing of Richard Stetson through forensic bite mark evidence.
Do you think that you're reformed at all?
I believe that I would never kill anyone again, if that's what you mean by reformed.
In court, psychological evaluations painted a grim picture: obsessive-compulsive disorder, sadistic tendencies, and schizoid personality disorder. But Joubert was found sane and sentenced to death in Nebraska and life in Maine. As appeals dragged on, Joubert's final days approached. On death row, Joubert gave multiple interviews, including 7 sessions with reporter Mark Pettit. He revealed continued violent fantasies and even created disturbing drawings depicting his crimes. The Nebraska Department of Corrections seized these artworks, sparking a legal battle over their release that continues today.
You never can know, because obviously I'm never going to be trusted again. And second, I'm never going to be released, so it's never going to be put to the test.
In his final statement, Joubert expressed regret.
I just want to say that again. I am sorry for what I have done. I do not know if my death will change anything or if it will bring anyone peace. And I just ask the families of Danny Eberly and Christopher Walden and Richard Stetson to please try to find some peace and ask the people of Nebraska to forgive me. That's all.
Joubert's execution by electric chair left gruesome evidence of its brutality: a 4-inch blister on his head and severe burns above his ears. He became only the second person executed in Nebraska since 1973. But the story doesn't end there. Joubert's case forced communities to confront hard truths about evil hiding behind normal faces. A former Boy Scout, band member, and Air Force airman had murdered 3 innocent boys. Joubert's death may have closed one chapter, but the lessons learned continue to echo through the years. But while Joubert's fate ended in the electric chair, the next killer's final moments grew far darker, leading us straight to the world of one of the most terrifying predators in Russian history.
Щекотыло, и что оно означает?
Скажите, вот когда вы были ребенком, да и не только ребенком, вы любили ласку?
Да я не знаю, любил или нет, я
Я ее не имел, никто не ласкал. Никто никогда не ласкал, никогда, потому что у нас как раз все мое детство пришло, это на военные, на голодные годы, так что мы там.
October 16th, 1936. In a small Ukrainian village, Andrei Chikatilo entered a world already scarred by starvation and hardship. His family, like so many others, struggled to survive the aftermath of the Holodomor famine. Chikatilo's earliest memories were not of love or warmth. They were of constant hunger and deprivation. As the Second World War tore through Ukraine, young Andrei's childhood was filled with trauma. Nazi bombings forced him and his mother to hide in cellars, and the family hut was eventually destroyed. Without his father, who was away fighting, Chikatilo endured relentless beatings from his mother whenever he wet the bed, a problem that persisted throughout his childhood. From an early age, Chikatilo felt like an outsider. His severe nearsightedness made classroom learning difficult, so he buried himself in books at home. He had a passion for reading and memorizing facts, but this only accentuated his social isolation. Bullies targeted him for his physical weakness and shy nature, while his mother's harsh discipline at home left him emotionally stunted. By his teens, Chikatilo was a model student and ardent communist. He edited the school newspaper and led the Student Communist Party committee. Yet beneath this facade of normalcy, deeper issues were brewing. At 17, he experienced his first sexual assault, a disturbing foreshadowing of the horrors to come. After failing to get into university, Chikatilo worked as a laborer before joining the Soviet Army. His impotence, discovered during an early relationship, became a source of intense shame. He even attempted suicide when his condition became public. Despite these difficulties, Chikatilo married in 1963. The union was essentially arranged, and the couple had 2 children through artificial insemination methods. Chikatilo's career as a teacher began promisingly, but soon his disturbing behavior emerged. He frequently entered girls' dormitories and was caught fondling himself in class. Complaints piled up, but consequences were minimal. His teaching career ended in March 1981 after multiple accusations of molesting both male and female students. Chikatilo then took a job as a supply clerk, which required extensive travel, a crucial factor in his later crimes. December 22, 1978. In Shakhty, Chikatilo lured Yelena Zakotnova to an abandoned hut. He attempted to rape her, but when she resisted, he shot and stabbed her. The killing brought him a twisted sense of satisfaction he had never known before. Despite mounting evidence, another man was wrongfully convicted and executed for Zakotnova's murder. This miscarriage of justice allowed Chikatilo to continue his spree unchecked. Between 1978 and 1990, Chikatilo murdered at least 52 women and children across the Soviet Union. His victims ranged from boys to adult women. He developed a pattern, approaching vulnerable individuals at bus and train stations, luring them to secluded areas and murdering them in brutal fashion. Many victims were stabbed dozens of times, often while their hands were bound. Some were mutilated post-mortem, with eyes gouged and bodies eviscerated. Chikatilo's crimes exploited the weaknesses of Soviet society. Runaway youths, eager for city life but lacking connections, became easy targets. The state's denial of serial killers' existence further hindered the investigation.
О муках на том свете и о встрече со своими жертвами. Вы об этом когда-нибудь задумывались?
Не, я не задумывался об этом встрече, как-то не задумывался я. Все это я считаю, что все это меня не касается, как-то все это прошло мимо моего сознания, все это не задумываюсь. Вот о муках своих я...
As the bodies piled up, Soviet authorities reluctantly acknowledged a serial killer was at work. The investigation, dubbed Operation Forest Path, became one of the largest in Soviet history. Police interviewed thousands, checked psychiatric records, and investigated known sex offenders. Many innocent people confessed under duress, and several committed suicide due to the relentless pressure. In September 1984, Chikatilo was finally arrested after being caught behaving suspiciously at a train station. However, a blood test seemingly cleared him. His blood type didn't match samples from crime scenes. This paradoxical secretion phenomenon, which later experts disputed, allowed him to walk free after serving a brief sentence for theft. For years, Chikatilo evaded capture while authorities struggled with outdated investigative methods and bureaucratic obstacles. It wasn't until 1990 that new evidence and advanced surveillance techniques narrowed the search. Plainclothes officers staked out train stations, and psychological profiling finally pointed investigators in the right direction.
Я как нормальный, может быть, в том смысле, что у меня вот эти вот все, как и психическая, сексуальная или психическая ущербность, вот эта вся, вот эти все перверсии, и на базе этого все вот эти мне вот уже там на мозги всякие клапаны ставили, там мозги там фиксировали, там они зафиксировали.
On November 20th, 1990, after 6 days of surveillance, Chikatilo was arrested for the final time. This time, investigators took a semen sample rather than relying solely on blood tests, which confirmed the match to crime scene evidence. During interrogation, Chikatilo initially denied everything, but when confronted by criminal psychologist Dr. Alexander Bukanovsky, he broke down and confessed to 36 murders, eventually admitting to over 50. He meticulously described each crime, providing details only the killer could know. Chikatilo's trial became the first major media event of post-Soviet Russia. In a specially constructed iron cage, he faced 53 murder charges and 5 counts of sexual assault. The proceedings were often disrupted by his bizarre behavior, singing, exposing himself, and ranting about political philosophy. Judge Leonid Akubzhanov maintained order while reading the long list of indictments, each charge a fresh wound for the victims' families. Despite his attempts to feign insanity, psychiatric evaluations determined Chikatilo was fit to stand trial. The evidence was overwhelming. Confessions, physical evidence, and witness testimony all pointed to his guilt. On October 15, 1992, Judge Akubzhanov sentenced Chikatilo to death plus 86 years for the 52 murders and 5 assaults. The judge's final words echoed through the courtroom. Taking into consideration the horrible misdeeds of which he is guilty, this court has no alternative but to impose the only sentence that he deserves. I therefore sentence him to death. Chikatilo's appeal to the Supreme Court was rejected in 1993. A final plea for clemency to President Boris Yeltsin also failed. On February 14, 1994, Chikatilo was executed by a single gunshot behind the right ear in a Moscow prison. His body was buried in an unmarked grave within the prison cemetery. The Butcher of Rostov left behind a legacy of fear and tragedy. His crimes exposed the flaws in Soviet law enforcement and the dangers of bureaucratic denial. More than 1,000 unrelated crimes were solved during the investigation, including 95 murders and 245 rapes. The case forever changed Russian criminal justice, leading to modern investigative techniques and greater public awareness of serial crime.
Если Черненко стал генеральным секретарем Черненко, который вообще не мог двух слов связать, который его высшая должность в государстве, это редактор, это блокнот агитатора, то я тоже написал и в Москве выступал, я сказал, я тоже в этот самый был редактором этой стенгазеты всю жизнь во всех промышленных и учебных заведениях и в армии.